Hi there, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing well. Today, I thought I'd bring you on a walk and talk so that we can walk and talk about legal English. So I'm here where I basically live in Lecco, and we're going to walk around a little park called Parco Villa Gomez, which is this lovely park you can see in the background. Lovely, lovely plant. Lovely trees. It's a lovely park. Antonio Carlos Gomez was a Brazilian composer. He moved here and actually made this park like a little Brazil and planted lots of Brazilian trees. So quite nice for me because I used to live in Brazil. So it's a lovely green space. Anyway, let's talk about legal English things. I wanted to talk to you about my week, basically. And in that, hopefully, we're going to talk about some legal English vocabulary and things like that. So I'll talk a little bit about my legal English teaching. And if you think, legal English classes, I just don't have time for them, well, stick around to the end because I will give my opinion on that thought. So what have I been doing this week? Well, I've been teaching legal English. Usually I teach a fair few students legal English, and by students, who are my students? Obviously, I won't go into details, specific details, but my students are usually lawyers. By lawyer, I mean somebody who works in law. The word lawyer is actually a really general word in English. It doesn't mean something specific. It means somebody who works in law. But we usually use it to mean somebody who is practicing the law. And by practicing the law, I mean like a solicitor or a barrister. Which are specific terms, and they're specific to the jurisdiction of England and Wales. A solicitor is someone who usually advises clients and drafts contracts and things like that, whereas a barrister specializes in advocacy, and so they go to court and litigate. So a lawyer is a term that you could use to describe yourself if you practice law. And you could work in-house, inside a company, or you could be a litigator, or you could work in a law firm advising clients. Oof, it's really hot. Anyway, so my clients are usually lawyers. So what did we do this week? One of my students had to prepare for, she wanted to practice explaining a new European regulation to a client. She works in-house in a company. And so the company sells services to other companies, and those companies are affected by specific regulations. And she wanted to be able to explain those regulations to clients. So we actually did a practice role play so that she could explain to me as though I was a client this particular regulation. And I asked questions, likely questions that would arise from a client interested in this particular regulation. So we did that. What else? Another student is a commercial litigator, and he generally likes to discuss the cases that he's working on without disclosing confidential information, obviously. So confidential information would be party names, and it could also be facts which identify the parties. So talking about confidential information, I think I'll do a little side discussion on this. Most of the time when I'm teaching, my students don't disclose confidential information because obviously as lawyers, you're bound by client confidentiality, right? So I usually encourage students, not to disclose any confidential information. Now, from my side, as a legal English teacher, I obviously everything inside our classes is confidential, and I sign documents that ensure that I won't disclose any confidential information outside of our classes. I don't record classes, and I don't keep any documentation that's confidential outside of classes. So that's on my side. On the lawyer's side, obviously, I don't know how it works in every single jurisdiction. At least in England, you're not, as a lawyer, you mustn't disclose confidential information without the consent of the parties, the consent of your client, for example. You shouldn't disclose the client's name without his or her consent. Or whether it might be required by law, or it might be necessary to perform your work. So, lawyers will disclose contracts to translators because they need to provide a copy of it in a particular language. So it's, when I teach my students and they disclose information to me, obviously it's their call. They are the ones who are deciding what and what not to disclose according to their own jurisdiction's rules. However, usually it's probably not okay. So I always encourage my students to not disclose confidential information. Anyway, that was a bit of a side track. So what else? So I had my student who explained the regulation, another student who generally tends to explain the cases he's working on without disclosing confidential information. I have another student who works in-house. Her practice area is competition law. She's a competition lawyer. And what we generally do in classes is either she reads an article before class or we read an article in class about a topic, about an update in her practice area. So we read about it, she explains it, and summarizes it and uses legal vocabulary to explain the article. So this is quite nice because she's practicing using legal English, but also she gets updated on legal news. So it's not like a total waste of time because it's like reading an update that's relevant for her practice. I realize my arms are not very strong holding this selfie stick. So I've tried to shorten it and I'll continue like this because shortening it seems to make it easier. So those are the students that I've been teaching that, of course, I've taught more, but just to give you an idea of some of the lessons. Homework. Some of my students like having homework, so I will usually send them an exercise to do before the lesson. It might be to read an article. It might be, for example, one of my students wants to learn phrasal verbs. So business phrasal verbs. So I send some business phrasal verbs to learn and then also some exercises to test them, and then we discuss them in class. And also I usually send corrections from the lesson, like any words, vocabulary, any mistakes, some exercises to correct so that so that the learning is actually active and you're not just having the class and then like forgetting what mistakes you made until the next class. So if there are any mistakes, you actively correct them and learn. But not all students like to have homework. I know that you lawyers are quite busy. This is the fundamental issue. So what then? If you don't want homework, that's fine. But obviously, you might not progress as fast as somebody who works and does homework outside of class. But being realistic, I know not everyone has time to do legal English homework. So what else? So I've been teaching this week. I've also been working on a major site update. So my Study Legal English website has been going for almost 10 years. And on it, there are various learning resources, including courses. And but the courses in their current format on the website are not maximized in the efficiency for being a course, because I started developing them over 10 years, and of course a lot of things have changed in that time. I got older, computers got wiser with artificial intelligence and with course software and things like that. We went through COVID. Everybody became more comfortable learning online, and course software became more sophisticated. So I've been working on a major update to my site, which is going to be launched in September 2026. And it means that if you take a course on the website, it's basically much more user friendly. And aside from this, I also updated a lot of content because, starting 10 years ago, quite a lot of things have changed. If you're a lawyer, that the law is constantly changing. I'm not necessarily teaching the law, but there are things in my content which were out of date, like references to the Queen. Obviously, the Queen of England passed away, and so now we have a king. And so references to the Queen's Bench Division, which is a division of the High Court of Justice of England and Wales. Obviously, it's not the Queen's Bench Division anymore. It's the King's Bench Division. And what else? Barristers who are, as I mentioned before, specifically qualified lawyers in England and Wales who practice advocacy. The ones who have a lot of experience and a lot of expertise can become what used to be called Queen's Counsel, QC, sorry. And now, of course, they're not QCs. They are, indeed, I bet you can guess it, KCs, which stands for King's Counsel. So I've updated a lot of the material. It's all up to date for 2026. It's ready to go. So that's going to be going live in September. I had wanted to do this update last year, but I got involved in a major project in Oman, teaching, first of all, a preparation course for the test of legal English skills, TOLS. I know that many of you have taken TOLS. Those of you who haven't, you might consider it. It's an exam. It's a qualification to test your legal English skills, as the name suggests. So you to prepare for TOLS, you basically prepare vocabulary. You learn vocabulary in lots of different practice areas like company, contract, employment, banking, law, legal profession. So you prepare and then you take an exam. So I was working on a project teaching the preparation for that and putting about 100 students through the TOLS exam. And then we worked on legal skills. So contract drafting, contract negotiation, alternative dispute resolution, and some soft skills like networking for lawyers, social media, job applications, things like that. And we also did more hard skills like advocacy, practicing cross-examination, doing a mock arbitration proceeding. So you can imagine I was quite busy, and I didn't have time to do the update on my site. Now I have more time because I'm not flying back and forth from Oman, going there and coming back. And so I've had more time to do all the work on my site. It's launching in September, so keep an eye out for that. So I've been working on that, and I'm still working on that. What else have I been doing? I've been also working on some collaborations. I won't talk about them here because they are not finalized, but there'll be news about one particular collaboration coming in September, hopefully. Well, almost certainly. And another collaboration which we're in negotiations about. So let's see what happens there. So there's someone in the park doing exercises. I'll have to walk past them. No problemo. So what else have I been doing? Well, those are the major things. So I did promise you that at the end of this video, I would give you my thoughts on the issue of lawyers saying, I don't have time for legal English classes. What do I think about this? This is a major problem. Everybody's too busy these days. We've got so many things going on. And yet we probably spend quite a long time scrolling through Instagram or scrolling through YouTube Shorts. And so we do still have time to waste. Anyway, regarding legal English classes, my view is that a lot of lawyers might misinterpret legal English classes as being separate from their work, as being like a personal development, a way for personal development. You're learning a language, you're developing your skills, it's a personal thing. Yes, it's linked to your profession, but it's not part of your work, so it's extra. So I have to do my work properly, and I don't have time to do the legal English classes. Now, this understanding is fundamentally wrong, at least regarding my classes, because what I do in classes is yes, we work on legal English, but it's 99% of the time, if not 100% of the time, linked to the work of the lawyer. So I mentioned earlier a few things that I had done with some students this week. One of them was to practice. We did a role play where the lawyer explained a regulation to me. This was something that she really had to do after our class. So she was actually practicing something that she would do And by doing so, it was like her preparation for that meeting, which she would have done anyway on her own, but without the help of a legal English teacher, me, to correct her, to give her confidence, to say, oh yeah, you're doing it actually really, really well. So she then felt more confident going into the meeting because she knew that she was doing it correctly. Whereas if she had prepared on her own, she might have felt a little bit like, I don't know if I'm saying this correctly, and so on. So we literally prepared something that she would have done anyway, but in a more efficient manner, a more effective manner. The anti-competition lawyer that I mentioned before, what do we do? As I mentioned, we tend to read articles which are updates about her area. They might be cases related to investigation of companies who have carried out anti-competitive behaviors. And so this is completely relevant to her work. She learns about updates in her field, which makes her a better lawyer. And as we're doing it, she should be doing that outside of class anyway. If she didn't have legal English classes, you would probably read legal news to make sure that you're up to date in your area. So by doing it with me, or with your legal English teacher, you do your job, do your work, but you also learn legal English at the same time, because there might be vocabulary that we can automatically, that you don't know, that we can automatically explain. I can explain the vocabulary, and obviously I take note of any mistakes, and provide that coaching and motivation to keep improving. So my thought, we're getting there. My brain is working a bit slow in the heat. My thoughts on, for those lawyers who think, I don't have time for legal English classes, you have to reframe this legal English classes away from, it's not part of my job. Part of your job. We work on things that are related to your work. So you're basically doing something that you would do for your job, but you're doing it in a more efficient way, because at the same time as you're doing it, you learn legal English. So that's what I thought. That's the end of my walking and talking. I'll just leave you with a quick question, and that is, what have you been doing this week? Leave a comment in the comment section below. And if you liked this video, this informal chat, put a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more legal English content.